So welcome everyone. This tier list will be for the beginner player, for the lower league, for like silver, bronze, gold players. Me as a Conqueror 3 player, me with 2000 elo, how can I make something like this? How do I know what the beginner players are struggling or not struggling with, right? So let me tell you that I have 1,000 hours in coaching. I'm watching bronze players playing, silver players playing, gold and platinum players playing their game. And I see some of them struggling real hard. You know what I mean? They literally struggling. So so let's see which civs are perfect for a person who just start playing the game, who is a reloader, who maybe doesn't even understand the game. It's very simple. First civilization we're gonna talk about is not English, but a Abbasid. I think a Abbasid is not really hard. It's really clear where you want to go, what you need to do. There's nothing confusing. You have only two landmarks. Inside the two landmark, you have four options. The economy is simple. It's easy to make trash units with them. The trash units are easy to use. So I must say Abbasid is one of the civilizations that, yeah, you can easily use the economy and the age up, etc. The next one is gonna be HRE. I think HRE is not the most easiest to play with because you need to use your prelate, right? And every time there is a new unit comes into the scene, more micro, more macro is required. So HRE, in terms of how difficult to use the civilization, is the same level as Abbasid. So I do suggest like on a certain level, but there are easier civs to play with. Example, English is the most simplest and easiest civilization to add. There is nothing horribly hard to understand. And next to it, I have to put French and Jeanne d'Arc as well, because these civs are easy to understand, easy to play. There is nothing complicated. Straight up, you make knights, right? Like there are literally people who are in Conquer in team games who are just making knights, or Conquer one in 1 versus 1 who is just making knights. Like they refuse to make any kind of unit, they are just making knights. There are multiple people who reach Conqueror 1 with making knights, of course. So this tier civilization is clearly one of the most easiest because you don't need to understand a lot. You just make longbow and attack, make knight and attack. Meanwhile, there are civilization which requires a little bit more thinking, a little bit more brain power to understand how you need to play with the civilization. The next one is gonna be Mongol. For a Mongol, I do not suggest for the beginners, for the new players, because there are like insane amount of stuff that you need to do. What you need to understand that many times when the civ is harder, it's really hard to learn and play. If you play with the civ to and you understand the civ and you know how to play, this basically means with the civ you can climb higher, right? Because the civ is more complicated, the easiest to climb up. Mongols doesn't have walls, no keep, you have expensive TC, you need to trade, Khan ability. So there are like many other things that you need to use for fulfill the full capability of the Mongol civilization. The next very easy civ is actually Delhi. I was talking with a person who was gold one, who is actually diamond now. We had like 4 hours of coaching because he was a little bit struggling. He couldn't find the best civilization for himself to achieve his goals, and he was on gold one. Now 4 or 5 hours of coaching session was enough for him to find Delhi is one of the most clearest and easiest civilization for him. He was playing OTD before, I think, a Rager or something like that. So he found Deli, and after I suggested many other players as well to play Deli, who I seen they are really hard struggling to play Deli with. and they achieved a really, really, really high rank. Now, why Deli is so simple? You don't need to pay for upgrades, right? It's just easy. You just upgrade the unit, get the wheelbarrow for free, get your unit upgrades for free. You get everything for free, so you don't need to push yourself on the macro side on that much. You just need to get the food and food. Sometimes God, you want to age up. But you're gonna say, but hey, Daddy, you have to capture second sites. Yeah, but that's not hard. You just send one prelate to the middle. It's like the same as sending your military to the middle. Now you just send the prelate as well with your military. It's easy. Like Delhi is one of the civilization, just like English. There is one straight play style. You do that, and that's it. There is nothing like overcomplication like IOs with the Chinese, and because of that, I do not suggest people to play. It's not as bad as Mongol, but I do not suggest playing with the Chinese that much because you have imperial officials. You need to supervise the right resources. You need to do granary transition in time with the Song Dynasty, good barbecue locations, and etc. But it's more understable and easier than the Mongols because what makes the Mongols hard? Again, no wall. You have to place your TC correctly. You have to build the Uvu. You have to tower rush. From the tower rush, you have to go Sira Chi. You have to trade. You have to protect the trade. You have to make Magda. Sorry, not Magdas. Keshiks, archers, spearmen, etc. You have to get pasture. So everything is so complicated in the Mongols. China is not really that much of a it's more like the IO supervision is the complicated one. Ottoman. Well, Ottoman is not that really hard. It's easy to understand. I think it is just as easy to understand as like HRE. So Ottoman as well, you can skip the first military school. Anotan, if I remember correctly, Anotan was the Persian who skipped the military school and he just made an insane amount of units and BT the BC's English. So again, Ottomans is it's not hard to do. You need to build. You need to focus on your military schools. You need to get your vizier points, the correct vizier points. Sometimes you have to rush H3, but feudal aggression, but it's not that really hard to understand the Ottomans. But you have to understand how important the military schools, etc. So if I compare Delhi to Ottomans, I think Delhi is more easier to understand than the Ottomans. Also, you have to be careful with the matter, because as soon as you lose the matter, you lose your strength in your military. So OOTD again, it's a civilization where everyone thought this is gonna be so easy because you have one unit, right? But those units are actually not two units, right? It's not double the damage, not double the health, not double the armor. It is the double the cost. So as soon as you lose one horseman, that's like losing two horsemen. And also the OTD has way too many bad matchups as well. So I do not really suggest you to play. If you find yourself to understand OOTD well, and you can micro it and macro it well, then the civilization is really good. But compared to these, OOTD is a little bit not as complicated as Chinese to understand. But yeah, next is Zushi. I think Zushi is the same thing as China. IO movements, the good abres that you need to get out fast, the build orders. So I do not suggest for the beginner player to play with Zushi. Now Japanese. Yeah, it's same with Zushi. You need to do your macro perfectly to reach H3. Then the mounted samurai raids, have to use the mounted samurais. Immediately collect the relics, going with the archers as well. So I think maybe let's go next to OTD, but it's not that easy to do. Now Byzantine, Malian, and nope. So Byzantine Malian, the reason why they are so hard because with Malian you need to understand when you need to make units and when you need to make cows, and also you don't have crossbowmen. You have a melee crossbowman, aka Musafa the warrior, but you actually don't have crossbowman. So that's also a setback for a player who is starting to play with Malian, and he gonna be like, well, where is my crossbow? Where is my crossbow? I have javelin thrower, but that's not a crossbow. So it also requires a lot of micro to successfully win any kind of fight when the enemy has, let's say, Manatom, Spearman, Horseman. So what kind of units you need to make. So that's the reason why the Malian is not really good for beginners or low elo players. But if you understand how to play Malian, if you play like let's say 100 games, you might lose 50 or 60 of them, but when you get to it, to understand how to play Malian, you can easily climb. Byzantine is the same thing. Perfect system locations, when to switch to farms, how to rush the castle age, when to collect the relics, which landmark you should build. I mean, the landmark is easy, that's not hard. So, which contract you need to do. Uh, there is like a hell of a million stuff about Byzantine that we can talk. It's just so hard. The civilization is insanely strong, but very, very hard. Now, the Roose. Currently D, but because Roose will get 20 different nerfs, it will be A. But right now in 2024, August 18, right? Rus is one of the most hardest saves next to Byzantine because it requires a lot of micro. It requires to know when to build hunting cabins, how to do the 2TC build. So there are like a lot of micromanagement that you need to kill deers. You need to go on the map. You need to click on the deers, kill the deers left to right, right? So I do not suggest Rush currently to play with as a beginner or low elo player. But if you know how to play with the civilization, you can easily get to diamond or conqueror. If you get it, if you really do understand how to play the civilization. But most of the time, like 99% of the time, you will go to TC with Rus. So it's a very based 2TCC. Now the Ayubid, I'm not gonna put it the same as the basics because it's much harder. Your trash unit costs gold as well, so you can't really like here you can be camel archers and that's good. But with the Eye bead, you need to watch. Let's go back to see. You need to watch how much food you get there on those berries. Because if you deplete your berry patch, right? Like let's say you have six, you just eat it one full berry patch, you have only five. Now your growth will be not as strong because you just lost 100 extra food, right? So you need to know which wing to age up. You have way too much option. The amount of option you have to age up, and you need all of them. You need to know all of them, which one, what they do, when to pick this wing, when to pick that wing. Because actually, let's say you are playing against Deli. Deli will do the same thing every game, but the Ayubid will have to pick like feudal growth or feudal reinforcement or maybe feudal wood. Well, we will see. So that's why I'm saying that you really need to decide which way you want to go with Ayubid, because if you do just one little mistake, that can literally cost you the game and you gonna actually lose it. So this is my beginner tier list. If you start the game or if you are really low elo, just pick a civilization from these. Don't pick like, oh, by the way, this beats English, okay? Deli 97 of 100 of times beats English, okay? So if you hate the English abusers, just pick Deli, alright? You're gonna have the best time of your life beating the English players with Deli. So this is what I suggest to the beginner players, for the low elers, for low elo players as well who are struggling with understand which civ they need to pick. These are the harder to learn, right? Much harder to these ones are the more easier to learn. So that's what I suggest you as well. If you master one of the civilization, then it's amazing for you because you can easily climb on the rank ladder. But these Civs are the Civs that's much easier to understand compared to these. So thank you so much for listening and see you in the next tier list video.